Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another thing where I talk about things. Today, we got Claudia and Maya both home, so we're gonna see how that goes. If we get a bunch of background noise or not. It's like a half hour of continuous recording, and I know Maya does not understand, so we'll see. But anyway, I've got some positive news today. I've been uploading stuff to Facebook, and in the past it seemed like it wasn't really that big of a deal. We would get 400 views or whatever, 400 shares. It would tell you like you've reached X number of people. And I don't know what this means in terms of like how many people are really viewing videos, but I guess like 400 people would see them. But recently we did the 4chan Cup video, and then the 4chan Cup video got shared around quite a lot, and so that's been shared with 40,000 people, or it's reached 40,000 people. It's been viewed like 200 times, it says. I don't know how that works, but point is though, it did that, and then the next video that I uploaded has also been shared around. So the new J cartoon is being shared around on Facebook. So while YouTube starts to look like it's just a lost cause because they won't share anything unless it's a 20-minute video about a hot knife or about something that is already being done on YouTube. Like if you really love Orbeez and you really love being a child who is tricked into clicking a picture of Elsa on a frozen Spider-Man abortion cartoon, then YouTube is great. But apparently Facebook will share stuff even if it's not on Elsa Frozen or Orbeez or whatever. So there could be promise there, and that's important. There's no ad model, so there's not like a lot of people competing on Facebook currently. But with YouTube being as abysmal as it is for us, the ad money for that is just like it's almost a non-issue. It's like whatever. The main thing is that new people are seeing the videos, and I could care less about the ad revenue on YouTube. Like whatever. In other news about YouTube, Maker Studio is not exactly going under, but they're restructuring because the YouTube system no longer supports networks quite like they've got themselves designed. Maker Studios is who I'm with currently, and if they go under, like I've thought about it, and the only thing that's going to happen right now is Maker Studios currently takes about like 30% of my income, and that's all they do. Sort of. The other thing that they did was that YouTube had this problem where every time I would upload a video, they would flag it and be like, oh, provide proof that you're not a copyright pirate. And it was one of those things like you can't prove a negative. I've talked about this before. Whenever somebody comes along, they're like, oh, prove you're not Bigfoot. Like, there's so many different ways. We could be like, well, like I'm not Bigfoot because my feet aren't big. And they'd be like, well, how do I know you got, like, maybe you got a foot reduction? Proving a negative is impossible because people can always cast more doubt on your proof. And so, like, YouTube would do that. They would say, oh, prove you're not a pirate. And you'd say, well, here's the stuff I used to make the video. And they'd say, well, you could maybe own the software, but maybe you stole the work from someone else. You're still a pirate. And they would just deny your submission. Like they would just deny your thing. Another thing that happened too is I can't remember if I talked about this, but I found out recently that there was a big fuss about like, oh, YouTube is now enforcing their content rules and they're removing ad revenue from videos. And I didn't really check to see if I'd been hit by this, but I apparently had been. I don't know how many videos actually got hit. YouTube didn't notify people when they got hit. Like I didn't get any emails or anything telling me that this had happened. But it turns out that, yeah, they'd actually demonetized at least one or more of my videos. The one that I discovered was one old personal time video I made about working at the pharmacy. Because when I was talking about the pharmacy, I was talking about like, medications and stuff like that. And drugs are not advertiser friendly, even though, it was in the context of like, working at a pharmacy, like, Walmart, CVS, that kind of stuff. There's nothing like non-friendly about it. And I could have submitted for a review, but the YouTube review process is such a headache and it's so unstable that it seemed more like it would just be baiting trouble, and I don't care. I don't care. It's not worth it. YouTube's review process has never been worth it. So the one thing that being part of the network did was they prevented me from being harassed by their stupid review programs, because their review programs are always a huge pain in the ass. I don't know if they're still doing those. I would be shocked if they weren't. YouTube just doesn't care about people on their platform. So, I'm pretty sure that that'll come back and haunt me again. But what can I say? That's just how YouTube is. That's what they like to do. That's how they like to operate. I don't know how it's going to upset the channel. I read about people like they lose their network and then YouTube just demonetizes them permanently. Like they lose all ability to make money. So that could happen to the channel. When that happens to people, YouTube usually doesn't fix it. They could start demonetizing all my videos again because they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, now that we got to check on all this stuff, we have to see whether or not you're worth our, like, oh, can you prove that you didn't steal this content? And then, it's like, just it'll be a huge headache. But other than that headache of just having to work through YouTube again as opposed to through Maker Studios, I'll just be keeping all my income. It used to be that networks were a little different. They used to be able to protect you from like Content ID, and they offered a few more things. But anyway, though, yeah, Maker Studio, they're going under because like YouTube ad revenue is becoming worth less and less, and ordinary people are not getting big on the platform for creating quality or interesting entertainment, like doing something different, doing something novel. Like it's not like there's just all this undiscovered potential laying out there. I mean, like there really is. Like there's a lot of people who are doing these phenomenal things and getting like no attention whatsoever. But you don't get big on YouTube doing that anymore. Like you don't get big on YouTube from being interesting or just kind of unheard of and weird. You get big on YouTube now for doing the same thing that everyone is talking about already, like, the 1,000 Degree Knife. Like everyone who did 1,000 Degree Knife videos, they got tons of hits on their 1,000 Degree Knife videos, Anna Elsa Frozen, all that stuff. That's how you get big on YouTube. So, like the networks can't really help anyone grow, because if everybody is doing stuff, they're either doing what everyone else is doing and getting big that way, they're running reaction channels and they're reacting to things that are big, getting big that way, or they're doing their own original content and they're just instantly sinking because YouTube doesn't care about original content. They don't want to promote it. So it's kind of a weird place, and what they're doing is, I guess, is they're shrinking down the network to their 300 top entertainers. And then they're going to start providing like advertising and stuff like that for them. Now the thing is that Maker Studios also has a past history. They bought Blip TV, and they did this exact same strategy to try to keep Blip TV alive. Was they shrank down Blip so that they were only focusing on their most profitable creators, and then they went under anyway because like just those top profitable guys weren't really enough to keep a platform going. I mean, like essentially they had Awesome TV, Channel Awesome, the Doug Walker stuff, Nostalgia Critic. I mean, like they had like Nostalgia Critic, and they had Team 4-Star Abridged, and like Ray William Johnson went over there, but the internet, the YouTube algorithms are so weird. Like those people, like Ray William Johnson, whatever, there's nothing really special about them. So you get them off of the YouTube platform. You get them off of the system where YouTube is just propping them up for talking about things that people are already doing. And you find that there's not really like any particular unique skill set there. Like there's nothing, like Ray William Johnson wasn't really anything special once you took him away from the algorithm. So he really couldn't put roots down anywhere else, and he sort of failed once he moved over to Blip. So like they had Ray William Johnson, who used to be one of the biggest YouTubers, and then as soon as he got off of YouTube, he just crashed. So Maker might wind up in the same situation as they shrink down their guys and move over to just, oh, here's our top guys. Like they dropped PewDiePie because he made some kind of anti-Semitic joke. But the thing about YouTube, and one of the things that a lot of analysts keep saying, is they point out that high production value has no value, or high production value is a bad idea on YouTube, because if you have a lot of production value, then your product gets more expensive, and they have what they call the triangle of production or whatever. I can't remember what it's actually called, but the idea is that you can be fast, you can have quality, you can be fast, you can be good, or you can be something else, or you can be affordable. And what YouTube chooses for you is you're going to be cheap and you're going to be fast, because they want you to upload frequently and they want you to be, they're not going to provide you a lot as far as ad revenue goes. So the trouble is that if you want to survive on YouTube, like in theory, you could also be very good, but then you would have to be slow. You can't be fast. You just have to take a long time and work on a low budget, and then get your stuff up there. and because you would spend a lot of time. But then the thing is though is that YouTube doesn't promote that stuff anymore. Like Rainbow Dash Presents used to be our big thing, but after posting Star and Yellow, we found that it really brought in not much more traffic than had we just done new mass episodes every month. And so it's like we had the whole team on it, and it tied up a bunch of resources, and we put a lot into Star and Yellow. But we find now that YouTube is so focused on just repetitive nonsense that investing all that time and interest, it really won't net very many viewers. Like YouTube won't show it to many people because YouTube just doesn't care. Potentially on Facebook, though, who knows? It looks like I say, Facebook is trying to compete with YouTube. I think they're trying to draw real talent away from YouTube. Because if you think about it, if all YouTube has is just 1000 Degree Knife and like deceptive kids cartoons, and like Facebook has like actual entertainment, Facebook will become the dominant video source because that's where all the funny and interesting people will be. Whereas like YouTube will be like, yeah, today I feel like watching, trash. So I don't know, like online video is such a strange deal because there's not really a lot of money in it to sustain like what you would expect from, say, cable television. And the method that YouTube is finding to maximize revenue is not really a healthy environment for any kind of creative enterprise. Like, there's no product to sell, and this is the thing that's killing Maker right now, is that they've got to go up to their board of directors and they say, like, well, what are you selling? And Maker kind of looks around and they say, nothing. Like, for the majority of the people who are contracted with us, we're providing them with nothing. Don't get me wrong, like, Maker actually has this is actually becoming just a Maker video. Maker, MCNs, and YouTube. Anyway, what Maker does provide is they have like various deals and things like that because they work through Disney. And so, like, for example, one thing they were doing is they were saying like, oh, submit us a show and we'll pitch it to Disney, and if you win, then maybe we'll fund your show. And this happened, and I saw like the top winners. It was kind of funny because I was talking to Patrick, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe we should submit that kind of thing. Like, we've got all these ideas kicking around, like we could flesh them out. There was one that I thought would be fun. Like, we were kind of like one of them that I started off at. It was like, what if we do the pyramid guy thing? Like, there was this comic about this pyramid, and he was like really sad, and it was like he's like this roommate to this guy. Like, the premise was that this guy moves in, and there's this weird little pyramid guy that like lives in the apartment. And it turns out that he doesn't like pay rent or do anything. He's just like this strange animal. And so the guy's like, oh, well, I kind of want to like throw him out. And the landlord explains like, oh no, he's an endangered animal and this is his habitat. Like, you can't move him. Like, how do you think you got such a good deal on an apartment in the city? And so like the premise was going to be based around like this like little pyramid guy was like really depressed and was then just gloms onto this roommate guy for like, make me feel better about my life or help me end it all. And I think the help me kill myself angle was a little too dark, so we kind of discussed what we wanted to do with that. And gradually it evolved, over time, because I kept saying like, yeah, this is sort of what I'd like to do, and then Patrick was like, yeah, I don't know if Disney would go for that, and then I was like, well, I don't know about this. And eventually the little pyramid guy became like a cockatiel, and then like the guy who was moving in became like a 13-year-old boy, and he was like living with his single dad, and I don't know, it just became something else entirely. But through that process, we eventually were just like, maybe forget it. But then we saw the winners, and we were like, oh my gosh, like, we could have submitted just about anything, and we would have been competitive with like some of the top choices that got into this thing. So that was an opportunity they provided, and it's a shame we didn't throw our hat in the ring because, if I can say anything about what we do, we certainly have a lot of ideas. A lot of interesting ideas, in my opinion, but. We should have gone for it. Maker was also trying to start their own sort of Maker TV program, but again, what we keep seeing with YouTube, and the thing that keeps killing them, is that every time somebody goes into like, all right, this is going to be like a high production sort of thing, it crashes and burns because YouTube just doesn't want to support like real entertainment. So Maker TV, they did that sort of thing. They came around, and Frederator did the same thing. Like you recall, there was like the Bravest Warriors and Bee and Puppy Cat and things like that. And Bee and Puppy Cat was interesting because they tried to survive off of merchandising and so on and so forth. And so they had like the crap. And the problem is that they made that show. It was like very cheap. And then like the script was kind of going nowhere. It was just sort of like things for its own sake. And they were like, oh, crab. And then the crab was like, oh, I like butts. And then they were like, buy the crab that likes butts. Here's a stuffed animal of the crab. And it was kind of like, this isn't like funny enough to really get attached to. Like, I'm not impressed by this crab. So, yeah, like, Bee and Puppycat kind of deserved to fail to some extent. Like, it didn't deserve to, like, not be watched. I mean, it was watchable, but as far as, like, could it survive on merchandise alone, I'm not surprised that it didn't catch fire. But after that, Frederator kind of abandoned the idea of running high production YouTube series because YouTube itself provided 0 returns, and their idea of like, well, let's just merchandise the heck out of this cartoon would only work if the cartoon developed a rabid online following. And part of the problem that you face with the online followings now is that Google controls a lot of what goes on, and if Google has decided that they want repetitive trash and they just want to spread things that people are already talking about, if your like IP doesn't really catch on right off the bat, like YouTube is not gonna promote it, and if you're not following all the rules, then like you're really not gonna get any help from them. So YouTube didn't really help spread their show around any more than what they'd already done. So all the advertising they did, like whatever they got out of Bee and Puppycat, I'm pretty sure that was all just 100% Frederator. Like that was the sweat off their back, that was everything. Nothing really carried them except for the enthusiasm that they were able to create. And this is kind of what's facing everybody. So Maker Studios was doing the same thing, as they were also trying to create these programs where they would have their own original content, and they would try to drum up everything off the sweat of their own backs, knowing that the only momentum they were going to have was momentum that they created by themselves. And the trouble is that you're doing this sort of thing where you have this, like, all right, it's all low budget, and it has to be long, and we have to post it frequently, and if we don't follow these rules exactly, YouTube won't push us at all, and it's going to crash and burn. So everything that Maker did, as far as original content, crashed and burned. You probably have barely even heard of most of their original content, save like, I don't know, Scare PewDiePie or things like that. And Scare PewDiePie didn't do so well, partly because that went on YouTube Red. I don't believe that was part of their original program, or part of their Maker original program. That was like a PewDiePie YouTube kind of thing. But Maker was not able to actually turn around and produce any sort of real content. So failing to do that, you kind of come back to again and you look at like what they provided to people, and aside from sort of this assurance that YouTube wouldn't jostle them to prove that they aren't pirates, they really weren't offering very much. And a lot of people were starting to kind of complain about this because back in 2011, there was a point in joining the networks. They protected you from YouTube in a lot of ways. They also protected you from Content ID, but these days, they really don't do much for you. And I continue to get emails from networks, and I'm starting to get fewer and fewer. I think that networks in general are dying off. I used to get them all the time. But I continue to get emails from networks, and every time I talk to them, I say like, all right, what do you give me? And they like, it comes down to that. They're like, all right, here's the contract, you signed this, and we take 30% of your ad revenue. And I'm like, great, yes, great, what do you give me? And they're like, opportunities. And it's like, all right, yeah, explain the opportunity. And they're like, like, we might be a better network in the future. And it's like, so call me when you're a better network. Like, I don't care now. You're not different from anyone else. You're not doing anything. There's nothing really good about you. So all the networks are facing this problem is they're coming to people and they're just saying like, hey, give us your money. And then people are like, why? And they're just like, well, because we're a network. Isn't that cool? Don't you want to be on a network? Do you want to be contracted with someone official? Like your first ever paperwork? Unless you signed a lease once, then I guess this is your second ever major paperwork. Second ever adult thing you ever did. And not to mention that some people on YouTube are getting a little old, and a little too old for this to be suckered into a stupid contract like that anymore. So a lot of multi-channel networks just dying off now. Maker, one of them. They sent me an email, and they haven't yet broken the news to me that they're going to lay me off. Or that they're going to not renew my contract. But I guarantee that they will, because we do animation, we don't really have a lot of potential for growth. I've been watching other channels that have been growing, And I apologize, guys, if this was... I was originally going to do a Skellingrim campaign, another one of these, but then I just got to start talking about, like, Maker and all the stuff that's going on with Maker. Anyway, though, yeah, like I pay attention to people who are growing, stuff like that, like, especially with the recent algorithm change. And, again, you're just kind of seeing the exploitation. Like, that's the main thing, that's the big thing, is that it's got to be something like... you know, a big fandom, like Five Nights at Freddy's got really huge, and that one was really weird. I was talking about this. I kind of looked at that, and I was like, yeah, it's a shame I didn't, like, get Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, I just didn't really see the appeal in it, and so I never did anything with it. I mean, like, Undertale I enjoyed, but I didn't, like, get super into Undertale like some people did. Like, I liked it. I had a good time playing that game. Papyrus kicked my ass repeatedly. Like, I was able to beat Asgore first try, like, no other boss gave me trouble. Like, Flowey, like, first try, first run, you know, it didn't matter. But, Papyrus consistently kicked my ass. Like, I replayed that game multiple times and could not beat Papyrus. I don't know why, but he was, like, the hardest boss for me. And for that reason, like, I actually went all the way through the Genocide route and then stopped before getting to Sans. Because I was just like, he's gonna do the same trick to me that Papyrus does, and I couldn't beat Papyrus, so I'll forget it. It's not important. It doesn't matter. I don't have to beat Sans. So I never beat Sans. But, yeah, we didn't do anything with, like, Undertale, Five Nights at Freddy's. And, I don't really want to become that. I don't want to be one of those people that's just chasing a fad all the time, because when you start to do that, you have to keep up. You have to really keep a really close eye on things, and eventually some of the stuff you start doing becomes very superficial. And it kind of sucks. Like, it's sort of creatively bankrupt, and I think you can kind of tell, like, when you look at channels that ride those fads. I mean, like, kids go wild for them, you know, it's like, this is so funny. But, like, they're, I check up on Griffinilla every now and then, the guy who used to do the Friendship is Witchcraft thing, and he's just got, like, all these songs about, like, Five Nights at Freddy's song, like, this song, that song, and it's kind of like, you know, he just writes up a tune, and, you know, it's like it's just totally, like, it's a copyright violation for one thing. Like, none of it's really legal, but, I mean, like, Toby Fox doesn't really crack down on people, and the guy who does Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't really crack down on people. So he's, you know, he just kind of gets away with it, and it's just sort of like he's exploiting another brand. Yeah. But, anyway though. So the point of all of this is, for the 20-some-odd minutes I've been rambling about it, the point of all this is that, well, YouTube kind of has everybody in this box, and they're sort of, I don't know what's going to happen with them in the next 5 years. It looks, though, like Facebook, like I say, they're sharing J-cartoons. And that's nuts, because when we started doing J-cartoons, we were like, yeah, I mean, like, no matter how funny J-cartoons is, and no matter how good the animation is, or how much we put into it, like, we really just have to hope that people enjoy it for the, you know, the silliness that it is, and that they kind of get a kick. Like, people who are coming to us from wherever they're coming from, we just have to hope that they kind of enjoy it, and, you know, it's going to be a good once-a-week thing. And we didn't really think about, we hoped that maybe it might be shared around on other platforms, because they're short, they're bite-sized, you can show them to a friend, and, you know, it's not a huge investment. But we knew that they wouldn't get shared on YouTube. We knew that they're just as good as worthless on YouTube. Like, probably hurting the channel, to be honest. YouTube is probably giving us a big stink eye for uploading these funny little shorts. Because they're like, this isn't a 40-minute video about, like, pooping on Spider-Man's chest. Like, how am I supposed to find an audience for these? Like, frickin' YouTube. Dorkly is another that used to do, like, these short comedic animations, and they've started doing their list videos and things like that. Just depressing. But Facebook is sharing J-cartoons. Crazy. So who knows? They're also doing, like, reasonably well on Newgrounds, if you consider, like, 200 views on Newgrounds to be reasonable. The Ski-Free Yeti one did really well on VidMe. I don't know if that got onto, like, Reddit or what the deal was with that, but, you know, it's kind of funny. Yeah, YouTube, everyone's kind of gotten nailed down, but these other platforms, it's hard to tell what's going to take off and what isn't. And it's a little bit uplifting to see stuff actually take off, to watch things, like, grow on these other platforms, where everything else, like everything on YouTube is just like, feels like it's just stagnating and shrinking and like the time is running out. But on these other platforms, it's like, oh, there's potential maybe. I mean, like, I mean, like, on Newgrounds, everything's already dead, but, like, on VidMe, this is like, oh, this is 500 views. Like, that's a lot for VidMe. Oh, like, thousands of views on Facebook. Wow. Like, I didn't expect this to actually get shown to people. Yeah. Interesting stuff. But yeah, multi-channel networks. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I strongly suspect that Maker is going to find themselves unable to do much of anything with the guys that they're keeping, unless they're very, very judicious about who they keep on. Because the thing is that like they parted ways with PewDiePie, and to be honest, as far as like a business is concerned, like PewDiePie is worth a lot of money, but if you're trying to cultivate a talent and build new things with someone like PewDiePie, I could understand Maker not really being that upset, or Disney not really being that upset about just kind of like separating from him, because like PewDiePie is the poster child for why are you famous. Like, he's that guy. Everyone knows that the YouTube algorithm made him big, and it's kind of like, you know, if YouTube hadn't made you big, what's special about you? And it's kind of like nothing, you know, like there's nothing really going on with PewDiePie that's particularly phenomenal. He's doing his little skits, and they're not really, I mean, any more outstanding than anything anybody else is doing. His Let's Plays are not really on a higher skill level than what a lot of people are doing, but he's just the guy. And so the system continues to promote him because everyone is already looking for him, and that's what YouTube does, is it perpetuates fame. And as it started to pull the rug away from him, he's now started to do really controversial things. As he's figured this out, is that you just have to get people talking about you, and as long as you're being searched for, YouTube thinks you're relevant, and it'll continue to share you. So PewDiePie is now doing these audacious things, and he's probably going to keep doing them. Like, oh, I'm deleting my channel. The news started talking about that. They were like, oh, PewDiePie's deleting his channel, and everyone went to go check out the video where he announced that, and he got millions of views on that video. Now he's done this thing where he's like, oh, I paid some guys to say, like, down with the Jews or whatever on, like, it's just it was like some kind of stupid stunt that he did where nobody involved had any actual emotional investment in the anti-Semitism. It was just like they got paid to do this. And they're just like dancing around with the sign that was like, oh, down with the Jews. And like the newspapers put, like, they were like, oh, anti-Semitism, like PewDiePie, anti-Semite. And so everyone went to go view that video. And I think he's just going to keep doing that, because as long as he's in that kind of, that mindset, like no publicity is bad publicity. And I think that in his particular situation, the way he's doing things, in his case, that rings true. Like, that'll be false if you have a product that's bad. Like, if you gain a reputation for having a very poor product, like if PewDiePie gains a reputation for having an incredibly boring show, then that's bad. That's bad publicity. That's actually bad. But if you have bad publicity for just being like, you know, completely irreverent, and you're playing that intentionally, and I think PewDiePie is. Then you're going to keep going. And I think it'll be interesting to see what PewDiePie continues to do to continue to rile people up and get viewership and stay relevant. Because exploiting the system is really what he does. It's what he's about, and it's what we're going to continue to see from him. I think it's all we should expect from PewDiePie. And in a way, I kind of root for him, even though, I mean, it's like rooting for Godzilla, you know? Like, he shows up and he destroys the whole city, and you just gotta, like, oh, you know, like a giant destructive Godzilla. Well, yeah, that's cool. Breathes fire, yeah. Like, just like, YouTube's freaking out, Disney's freaking out, everyone's freaking out. Like, man, this system kind of sucks. I'm glad to see someone just ruining it from the top down. Like, that's great. This is the man at the top of the pyramid, and he is just burning everything. He's a giant, and he's annihilating all of you. So you know, it kind of cracks me up. And you know, I probably shouldn't root for Godzilla, because Godzilla is just going to destroy Tokyo. But you can't help but like appreciate that he doesn't appreciate the system, because I don't really think that anybody appreciates the YouTube system the way that it's put together right now. Like I say, real businesses are imploding because you can't sell nothing. Like MCNs have no product right now, and they can't sell it. And channels that are like real creators, like people, like animators, special effects guys, like actual news, things like that. People who are doing real content that takes a lot of time and research and writing and like a ton of production quality, they're failing because YouTube won't promote them. But then you've got like these, they have an actual product and they can't sell it because YouTube doesn't care for them. Then you have people who have like illegal products or non-products. Like I say, they're like making songs about intellectual property they don't own. That's a copyright violation. They're making Anna, Elsa, Spider-Man, poops on Thor, whatever. That's IP that they don't own. That's exploitative. In fact, I even had a conversation about a couple of other guys I know who do animations. They like had skill, and they're like, "Oh, Greg, like you look like you could animate this kind of garbage." Like they were talking about that. Like, what if we make a channel and we just post under a name? Like they're like, what if we don't tell people that this is us? And we just come up with these pen names and we just like start posting Anna, Elsa, Spider-Man videos. They like he was showing this stuff to me. He's like, look at how like cheap and terrible this animation is. He goes, you could tween like half of this animation. Like I think we could release these once a week. Like if we assign 4 guys to this, we could get out 1 video a week and it wouldn't even detract very much from our real projects. And these videos are getting like, 10 million hits each. He's like, that's $10,000. We'll just split it all, 4 ways for like, a weekend of work and it'll be great. And I was like, man, this is all a scam. Like, this is all illegal. None of this is okay. Like, I mean, this is what's huge on YouTube right now, but this is all going to collapse, like, eventually. And it's probably going to collapse violently. It's going to, like, implode. It's going to pull people down when it goes down. Or at least I think. Like, YouTube might change its algorithm again. But they can't continually tweak their algorithm to only support fast and cheap garbage and then not get fast and cheap garbage. Like this is what they've made. This is what they've built. So probably what's going to start happening is we're going to start looking at those channels that are doing that right now. We're starting to see this for MLP. If you haven't, look up like Equestria Girls animations and then look for like the cheap garbage. Like scroll down a ways and you'll start to find these like weird copyright violations, like these just awful knockoff videos. And they're just deplorable. The trick is that what happens is like parents get iPads for their kids, and then they just turn the iPad onto like Dora the Explorer or whatever, or My Little Pony or something like that, and then YouTube autoplays the next video, and it keeps doing this until it runs into this weird exploitative scam video. And the exploitative scam channel uploads a video once a week, and all the videos are like 20 minutes, and they're really boring. Like, they pad them out really long, but they upload them like once a week, every 20 minutes, and then they just run. And so the kids will watch that, and they'll be like, oh, so you watched that? Like, here's another one. And the kids just watch that, and they watch that, and they watch that. And your kids will be exposed to all these horrible videos. It's terrible. Don't ever let your kids just watch YouTube unsupervised. Make sure you know what they're watching. I mean, for goodness sake, there's all kinds of terrible stuff on YouTube. It's still an awful platform. So, yeah, that's big. But at some point, I feel like some people are going to get sued or something's going to happen because this can't be like a paradigm that survives. Like, there's going to be some kind of legal change or something's going to happen that's going to prevent YouTube from continuing to do this, because what they're doing is just it's not healthy for anybody. It's not good. It's not good for kids. It's not good for creative people, not good for content creators, artists. None of it's good. So, yeah, I don't know. But just interesting news. Like I say, this isn't a doom and gloom kind of thing. As far as what we're doing, everything's kind of going about as expected. We've had a drop in the support for Patreon as far as financials go, but that's due. We had a couple of big people had to lower their pledges, and they sent some emails about it, and stuff just comes up, and that's all fine. We had a couple of people. We had one guy who left, and he was just furious because of the J cartoons. He was like, "These are bad, and you should feel bad." And he kind of made a big exit. But otherwise, things are breaking even. We're doing okay. like I said, it's really provides a lot of optimism to see stuff being shared on Facebook, to see things, doing all right on Newgrounds, to feel like, whatever's going on with our content on YouTube, it's not necessarily that our content is bad, and there's potential there, and this is the other thing too, is if we get big off other sites, and it could actually wind up coming back and feeding into YouTube. So who even knows? We might see some progress on YouTube just as a result of being other places. So J Cartoons is good. I was a little concerned when Patrick left that we wouldn't do so well on the JCon animations, but it turned out okay. I don't have his level, like he is particularly a special effects animator, so I'm not going to be able to achieve what he did, but I'll do my best. And yeah. So anyway, though, so that's MCNs, that's YouTube, that's the things as they are. Not really going to be a huge negative impact on us, I hope. If everything goes smoothly, I won't have any trouble when Maker does drop me. But like I say, it's weird. If I have any trouble, it'll just be because YouTube is badly run, and that's just how YouTube operates. They're like this. So yeah, I suppose that'll be it. Next time I'll talk about the Skellingrim campaign. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I will catch you all next time.